Hi everybody. Welcome to day 4. Things should really be clicking now. As everything builds upon each other, since each of the days are the same or are building blocks that lead into each other. So, as always, the replays for everything are going to be in the units section. And if you need anything, you're going to have Anza at your disposal to message and ask any questions or get any support that you need. She is amazing. If you would like a workbook, please message Anza or say something on this video. Also, can you say hi so I know who's here? I'd love to say hi by name. Hey, Sabrina, Ted, hi. Hey, everybody. So happy to have you. Okay, so yes, if you need anything else before, during, or after our live training, please talk to Anza. I'll give a quick little recap. Oh, hey, Shihan. So glad you're here. Day 1, we talked about avoiding the friend zone. So this is a place that introverts really like to live. It's the rapport section, or like the shooting the shit section. And nobody buys from friends. So if you have a conversation that was so great and then they didn't end up buying, it's definitely because you were in the friend zone. Rapport should really last no longer than 5 minutes. So, and we had some creative ways. Hey, Erwin. Hey, Jeff. Hey, I'm so happy to have you here. So yes, we have some ways to get out of the rapport hole, is what I call it. So like, I can tell we could talk forever. But I want to respect your time. Hold on, can you give me just one moment? And again, you have this workbook to write down what we talk about. And also it's about making it custom to you. So day 2 is all about the 3 introverted strengths that you have. I don't even know if you can see this. So the 3 introverted strengths are empathy, passion, and curiosity. If you lean into those, you are going to sell so much more than any kind of charming or being smooth or anything like that. That doesn't actually sell anything. So the fact that you actually care about your clients and are really excited about working with them is going to sell much, much, much more. It has for all of my introverted clients. Hey, Anza. And then day 3 was all about selling. Hey, Darla. I'm so glad you liked it, Darla. Was all about selling more with hope than pain. So these are all building upon each other, right? So hey, Richard, so glad you're back. These are all building upon each other. As you avoid the friend zone and go into the expert zone and really lean into your expertise and curiosity and genuine excitement for the results that you're going to get them, you're easily able to sell more with hope than a pain-based strategy, because you're able to talk about how great and positive the future is going to be when you guys work together. So it's not so much about painting this pain-filled future without you, but painting this wonderful future together moving forward in a positive way, which is a lot more fun, honestly. So have you guys been able to implement anything that we've talked about on any of your sales calls? And have you had any experiences or insights from them? I would really love to hear if this is clicking for you. And I know that everybody has said that it feels like it would be effective and something that they could implement, but I haven't heard if anybody has actually implemented them. I know Anza has, and she has gotten some sales, which is so exciting. It's something that she, traditionally kind of struggled with because she was doing all of those pain-filled strategies that are taught today. So has anyone else had a chance to implement them? Have you gotten any result, or do you have any feedback on implementing it? I know that Sam also yesterday was saying that like he could really see clearly how to segue into hope. Hey, Kevin. Hey. Segue into hope by like genuinely complimenting them on, continuing to pursue a solution. Hey, Jerry. So glad that you're here. Yeah. So has anybody tried anything? Drop a 1 if you tried it. Like any of the strategies we've talked about. Like a creative rapport building strategy that really establishes that you guys are just 2 humans just having a conversation. You're both 2 weirdos with regular lives and interests and hobbies and doubts and stresses and excitements and hopes. Just 2 people for a smoother conversation. Okay, maybe nobody's had any sales calls yet. All right, so as we segue from, Anza closed 1 sale this week and 2 more sales calls this week. Yes! So honestly, it works in your messaging too. So we use this with Anza's messaging to establish the call, to get the call at first too. So just reaching out and being like, hey, like, do you want to have a discussion about whether this is a fit? Focusing on that fit more than focusing on that sale. I'm a writer, so I don't typically do sales. However, I have seen I could get my name out there in the writing community. Okay, cool. You mean like you don't typically do sales at all, like on the phone? Good, Darla, you used them? Yay! Okay, great. Yeah, it can be a really great way to start the conversation too, like get to schedule a sales call. So saying like, I have this thing. You have fun winning with others? Yes, you do, Darla. You are somebody who would just absolutely shine and sparkle with this strategy. Absolutely. Richard, you got an agreement from the Describe Caption media program to distribute your accessible video books on Roku? Oh my God, Richard, that's huge. That's enormous. Congrats. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that makes me so happy to hear, because that means it's really like feeling comfortable for you guys. So today, like as you're painting into that hope situation, you're going to segue into authoritative empathy, which is all about basically pitch weaving is what I call it. So you can really avoid that dreaded pitch. You go up to people during events. Okay, Mary, you would still want to focus on like good rapport. Events are hard because everybody's like on their guard. I don't know. It depends on the event, I guess. Networking events is just like everybody has commission breath and everyone's trying to sell someone something and it's just awful. So maybe if it's a different kind of event, you can just talk about like have that genuine rapport and then focusing on if it's a fit rather than a sale. That will really help get that conversation started. Like, is this worth setting up a call about? Like, maybe. Like, let's see. No pressure. And then just uncovering their situation and what's going on. Oh, it sounds like this might be happening and that's definitely something I could help with. Like, would you want to see if that's something that would be helpful? That kind of approach. Okay, so yes, introverts do really, really well with authoritative empathy because as we already discussed, it is a natural introverted trait. You guys are really good at naturally feeling for somebody and caring about them. Yeah, commission breath. The first time I heard that, I was like, gosh, that is so accurate. It's the whole like, if your goal is the sale, then you're not going to make the sale. And all the other strategies, really the goal of the whole conversation is to make a sale rather than find out, can I actually help this person? And if I can, this is how I would do it, So yeah, the authoritative empathy, the thing about empathy is that you don't just want to like live in a situation where you're empathizing with someone. Like, yeah, that's so hard. Like, imagine that you're in a situation and somebody's telling you about something really hard and you're just like, oh, that is so difficult. It just makes you feel discouraged and lost. And, I'm just so sorry. It's like, if it ends there, it just kind of feels bad. It can't only live in the empathy portion. So the authoritative part is you moving to the other side of the empathy and subtly selling at the same time. So when it's done correctly, you're able to weave it very subtly into the question section. So there's really not very much pitching to do when you get to the part where it's like, okay, well, I mean, it sounds like it's a fit to me. Does it sound like it's a fit for you? Cool. Well, do you want to discuss what it would actually look like working together, like what that would include? And then it's just an explanation of what it includes instead of it being like this really long fire hose pitch where you're like selling all of these things that you guys talked about previously and that they were struggling with and addressing them and they don't remember and they can't retain what you're saying. They're just like, oh, I get the gist of it, but I don't really remember the differentiators. So now I'm going to focus on price, if you know what I'm saying. So it's a lot easier. And you just kind of avoid the pitching thing altogether. So to start with, empathy is the most powerful and underrated tool in sales and honestly life, because there's nothing, the thing that every person, human on this earth wants and craves is being seen and understood. It is so relieving. It's something that we're all starving for and we rarely get. They even talked about it in my parenting class. I'm doing this like love and logic parenting class. And one of the best ways to like work with your kid is they just want you to say like, I'm sorry. Basically, like that's hard. When you want something right now, it sucks. You want it now and you have to wait. Ugh. And they're like, yeah, it does. meh, and then they're like over it because they're trying to communicate the whole time like how upset they are about something, and you're just like, no. And so it really just empathy. People are just like, but do you understand me? Do you understand what I'm saying? So the thing is that most people don't really understand what empathy is. So it is not a me too. And this is something that's really common with women. The way that women make friends is we relate. So we're like, oh my God, me too, me too, me too. And it's great way to feel like something's in common. But you don't just want to say me too, because it doesn't feel authentic in the sales conversation. It's just like, oh yeah, I've been there too. It's like, okay, cool. It doesn't land the same as being like, yeah, I've been in that situation and I remember feeling like there was never going to be a solution and I should just give up now. That feels authentic as opposed to like, I just did it too. So it's also not compassion. So it's not like, I'm so sorry that happened to you and like leaving it there. That's not it either. That doesn't feel good or authentic or make me feel like you understand me. It just feels like you're having compassion for me. It's also not parroting. So a lot of times people will just like repeat something back to someone. So yeah, you had this experience. You tried 3 things and they didn't work. Yes. No, you need to expand upon that. You tried 3 things and it didn't work. And that's really hard because you are putting yourself out there repeatedly and not giving up and doing all the right things, but it doesn't seem like it's resulting in success, and that's frustrating. Do you see the difference there? Like between just mirroring, me too, and like, or sometimes some people say like, I understand what you mean. I understand how you feel. If you tell someone like, yeah, I've been going through this like really hard issue, like dating a bunch of guys and none of them work out. They're all just really lackluster. It's like, yeah, I understand what you mean. And it's like, do you? Like, you really want to expand upon that. I understand what you mean. You're just like, is there no normal man left on earth? I also write letters to introduce my books. What you're talking about can be applied to those letters. Absolutely, it can. Empathy can be applied in literally any situation you can think of. A conversation with your significant other, with your children, with your friends, with somebody who is at the DPS and being a total dick about getting your driver's license renewed or whatever, because they're always so angry because their life sucks. So like any situation where you want something out of the situation, empathy is going to be your first step, because they will be more open to hearing what you're saying too, because you understand them. So it's not just about them like continually trying to express what they're going through. So the authoritative part is an important twist that turns a conversation into sales. So some really easy segues for this would be to say like, we found, or that's why we, or in my experience. So like if you put it together, for example, you would say, yeah, we see that all the time. Like, I mean, even I went through that. I tried every weight loss program ever. I did paleo. I trained for a marathon and I actually gained weight. And it's just like, well, maybe my body is weird and not like anybody else's. But we found that actually everybody's body has a different chemistry. And so the thing that really makes the difference is creating a custom plan for your body chemistry. So that we found really spins nicely into the authoritative part, and it's subtle, right? So let's put this together. Think about 3 common situations that your customers experience, because there's usually some type of pattern. Like we kind of talked about that yesterday with the hope thing, like with Richard's nonprofits, like these people have very successful careers, but like they want something that has more purpose, that they can get more fulfillment out of. Or maybe it's somebody who personally experienced whatever cause that they're affecting and they want to change the world. You know, there's like patterns in the type of people that you're talking to and the situations that they're in. So for example, for a business coach, there are people, have a lack of business success because of no focus or strategy. That's a situation. Now imagine the next layer of feelings that brings on to them, for them. Shame. They feel shame that they haven't been able to make it work, that they put themselves out there and tried to be a business owner and it's not working and everyone thinks that they're a joke and they think maybe they're a joke. And that will allow you to feel the empathy, like, and express the empathy. You want to talk about a feeling. And then you talk about what you provide that ensures they won't experience that situation again that's associated with those feelings. So, yeah, it's really hard when you don't experience, when you are failing, it feels like you're failing at business because you feel like it might be something fundamentally wrong with you and you've put yourself out there. There can even be this kind of like shame and feeling of quitting. But what we found is there's usually just a lack of strategy and focus. So we have a strategy that includes the 4 parts that most people are missing in their business. Budget, marketing, targeting, whatever. And it makes all the difference when you have that clarity. All of a sudden, you know exactly what to do. So, and then you go to the next question. So, like, what have you tried up to this point? So it's very subtle, right? You like weave it in as feedback to their questions each time, because a lot of people just do the question section as like question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And it's like interrogation. So I kind of talked about this yesterday or the day before. I think it was in the curiosity section. And instead, people want feedback on their answers, and then you can weave that subtle selling into the feedback on their answer so that you're kind of like subtly selling in these bite-sized little pieces so people can really retain it much easier than if you just gave them like one fire hose pitch after you ask your 10 questions and then you're like, well, a little bit about us. We've been doing this for 80 million years and, we've made billions of dollars. And the difference is that we really, help people with their clarity and mindset. And so it always results in like all of this stuff and and like you just can't even retain all of it. And they're like referencing like things that you might have talked about in the question section, but it's a lot more powerful if you're able to subtly explain how you address a painful situation right after they say it in their answer. So let's talk about, first of all, does this make sense, you guys? I know it is a little bit of a deeper like concept, but it is extremely powerful. Do you think you could do this? Like drop a 1 if you think that you could do this and this is making sense to you and why it's powerful and that like, feels better than just like one pronounced monologue pitch. It's like an exchange more so. Like they say something, you say something, they say something, you say something. But like not just a question answer thing. So let me know. Oh, good. Sabrina, it makes sense. I'm so glad. So we can talk about some more examples. So yeah, what about someone who's spent so much time, money, and energy on finding the right system? Oh, good, Jeff. So like this could be a system for like what Sam does. I was thinking of you, Sam, with this example. Yay, Richard. Somebody's been trying to find the system for their e-commerce site and they just keep banging their head against the wall, right? So what feelings are associated with that? Frustration and anger. Yay, Darla. Yeah, slowly weaving it in. It's so subtle, right? It's like they're not expecting you to sell at that point, so it feels very genuine because it is, because you are being genuine. Good, Kevin. Yay. Rather this approach than doing basically a presentation. Yeah, I hate that. I really hate any PowerPoint presentation. Like, I'm not a fan of slide decks, straight up. Or if it's a slide deck, please take out like your team and your mission. Like, no one cares. So anyway, Sam's system, like those people are frustrated, and at this point, they're angry. Like they have very little patience for trying another solution and trying to make it work. So how could you solve that? You have a proven system. So you can explain, look, I know how hard it is because all the clients I've worked with have had the same experience that you're having. They've tried 10 different systems. And at this point, they're like a year and a half into trying to make this thing work. And it is so frustrating. And that's why we've created this proven system that although it takes longer, it will be the last system that you ever need because it's completely custom to you. So have you ever looked into a custom system before? Go on to the next question. You know what I mean? So you want to think about that feeling and then think about the empathy is talking about the feeling. So it's not like just me too, other clients do that too, blah, blah, blah. You want to say the feeling. So let's talk about another example. Lack of client retention. So many ad agencies struggle with this. And what is the feeling that feels like? It feels like panic and anxiety. There's like this constant, you're on a hamster wheel feeling, like you can't get your feet under you, you can't relax. So like, what is the solution that you could provide? You provide the structure to retaining a client that includes reports. Like first you would say, like, put it all together. Yeah, that is really common with ad agencies. They have everything they need to get the client, but they don't know how to retain the client. And so we've really fleshed out that piece of our program by showing you the type of reporting you need to do, the frequency of the reporting, and the communication touch points. We even have templated emails to follow up and check in, and the structure among your like internal employees of who can really own that relationship. So, have you ever tried implementing anything like that before? On to the next question. It's like you can't even tell that the person's selling, right? It's really hard to pick up on because it's so authentic and so subtle. It's a lot more comfortable. And then when you get to the pitch part, you can just reference, like I told you, a big part, this is the customizing part. Like I mentioned, you said your issue really is client retention. There's and a big part of our program is focused on client retention and giving you the tools and resources you need that we kind of discussed. And you don't have to like explain it all over again and then hope that they remember all of it, because you already talked about it once and you talked about it right after they said it was a struggle of theirs. So I'll do one more example with Hallie. So Hallie, she sells, she helps people with relationships, right? So she probably has somebody who, there's all different types of people. The patterns would be like someone who doesn't go on dates because they're terrified. There's someone who does go on dates, but everybody sucks. And the reason that person goes on these dates and it sucks is because they probably aren't attracting the right people. They don't have the right criteria to find somebody, or they're not like, putting themselves out there in a way that tells that their person, like, I'm the person for you. So what does that feeling feel like? It feels like discouragement and deep sadness and depression. Like, is the world full of losers? Are there any good men left? So what would that sound like in a conversation? Yeah, I know. Good, Hallie. Yeah, I know how frustrating that can be. It is extremely time consuming and exhausting to go on so many dates and then end up feeling like the world is full of duds. And usually the issue we found is that you just don't have the right criteria or the right way that you're putting yourself out there that attracts the right person. And that's something that we really dig into in my program. Have you ever looked at, changing that? Go on to the next question. So you can subtly sell and weave. It's weaving it in. So then when you get to the end, you're like, yeah, well, a big part of our program. So let's talk about how we work together. Well, in our first meeting, one of the first things we'll do, just like you said, you're going on all these dates with people who are not a good fit. So one of the first things we do is really flesh out who your perfect person is and take a look at how you're putting yourself out there and what questions you can ask to make sure you get that person. So you can really focus on that point that is a pain point for them, but it's like in a small condensed, like not a fire hose pitch thing. And so they're able to pick up on it more because you also already talked about it. Okay, so hopefully that is enough examples. It's a lot of examples. So once you're feeling comfortable with this, you can advance it and do authoritative empathy and then mention one of your client stories from yesterday that applies to really build that hope. So how they can say, yeah, so what we just said, like, yeah, I know how frustrating it can feel like there's no good men left in the world. What we found is that usually there's just not the right criteria, or focusing on the criteria that doesn't really matter long term. And also the way you're putting yourselves out there. Many times I feel like they want to hang on to the belief that men are the problem. Yeah. It's just it's the same thing as like client targeting, right? People will be like, everyone on Facebook's broke. And it's like, well, you're not calling out the right people. So the way you present yourself will make a big difference. And that's something that we really dive into. Does that happen in other people's calls? Yeah. Everybody always thinks there's some problem that's like hopeless. I think hopeless is a very common feeling on calls, and that's why they're hoping that you can help them. They want to know that you have the solution, and they would be stoked. They're not getting on to want to feel rejected. They want to find out if it's a fit. or want to reject you. So like, you're like, usually it's just about putting yourself out there in a certain way and focusing on the criteria that's really going to make a difference in a long-term relationship. So like, not just that they need to be 6'2". Build hope in with the empathy. Yeah. So this sounds so much, and that's something that we really focus on in the very beginning. And this sounds so much like my client, Susan. Susan had been she had been on Tinder and like Plenty of Fish and Match. She had been on it for like 4 years and never had a good connection. And when we looked at her profile, it's because she was only focusing on like physical attributes or whatever. So instead, we focused more on like the lifetime goals that they have and put that in her profile. And then before she went on any dates, we weaved those questions into her initial conversations. And she was able to find a quality person on her next date after we implemented that. And then you can go on to the next. So this sounds like something that I would really be able to help you with. Anyway, have you been on these dating sites? On to the next question. So that's like really the advanced thing that you can do, is like have a client story in with the authoritative empathy afterwards. Everyone is below broke belief. Yeah, totally. Everybody thinks it's just like, but usually it's just some little tweak that they need to do, and they need an expert who can see that, like see what they can't see. So the reason this is also effective is that when you do it during the question section, the guards and defenses are down. So they're more receptive, and it's just more subtle than that interrogation and then that monologue. So I'm guessing that you probably need to do some thinking on this tonight. I don't know, but like, did all the examples help? Do you want me to do more examples? Is this giving you any aha moments? Is it different from anything that you've heard before? I'd really like to know that. Have you ever heard of pitch weaving or authoritative empathy? Any light bulb moments? It's something that really gets better with practice. And I mean, you don't want to do it every single time. Like every answer doesn't need to have empathy and then a subtle selling point. It can feel really forced. It's only when it's natural. When naturally you can understand that situation and you have something that naturally solves it. Like you know that this is an issue, and that's why you have this thing that's going to make it not an issue. And in fact, you did it with your client, Rudy. This is what Rudy did. And this is how we help Rudy. You sound just like Rudy. And you explain what Rudy's situation was, and they're like, yeah, that does sound like Rudy. Yeah, it's all different, but the same. Exactly. I'm glad, Mary. So yeah, it is all different, but it's custom to you. So in the workbook, you should be able to have examples that make it so that it is custom to you. It took the awkwardness out of the conversation. I know it does. It's just a regular conversation instead of a sales conversation. It's just like an exchange of information where it's like, oh yeah, I know about that problem. Does it feel like that? Yeah, it does feel like that. Yeah, I know. That's why we created this thing for it. It actually sounds just like my client, Katie. She was doing this, that, and the other. That does sound like my situation. Yeah, this was all we needed to do for her to get this. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like that would be the same for you. But here, let's like get some more information first and then get the rest of the information. So it's really just a natural flowing conversation. You're able to live in your expertise. You're able to explain how you address what they're going through very easily in an easy to retain way, because clarity is everything. If they don't understand what you're talking about, and if they don't feel connected to it, I'm sure you've heard that like people buy on emotion and then justify with logic. And that's why empathy is so powerful, because if I feel like you understand me, then you can help me. And then you tell me actually how you help me with the exact feeling that I'm experiencing. Like, how could I not want to work with you unless you're really not a fit, you know? That's why this wins so much more business than this pain crap. Like I was looking at my client's, my newest client's old script from like a really well-known sales guru. And every question was about like not information that he needed. I was like, do you need to know if these people have done other programs before? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, it's not asked. Like, let's ask them. And then you just naturally have the right responses, right? Because you're asking questions with information that you actually need, as opposed to asking questions that the sole purpose is the sale. So it just works so much better, you guys. It's so much more comfortable, especially for introverts. You're really able to focus on that authenticity and that and that care for the other person, the person on the other side. So, okay, great. I'm glad that this is making sense to you and you feel like you can customize it to you. I really would love to hear tomorrow if you guys are able to weave any of that in. I mean, this is something you can also weave into your prospecting conversations. You know, once you ask them like what they're experiencing, you can express what that usually, like the feeling associated with that. And that alone is going to make them say, yeah, it does feel like that. And it's just so relieving and wonderful to feel like somebody, like you're not crazy. You're not alone on an island and you just feel taken care of. So anyway, tomorrow we'll be talking about something, again, like you'll want to do your workbook tonight. If you have any questions about that, please message Anza. This will be available in the replays, as a replay in the unit section of the group. They will be taken down after the workshop is over, but they will be available for now, and you can ask any questions. It's the most powerful lesson of the series. Yay! But it had to build upon each other, right, Sam? Like it makes sense with each piece like locking into place. So tomorrow will be really powerful too. It's about how to overcome every objection without becoming defensive, because the issue is that most people get defensive, and as soon as you get defensive, you lose the sale. As soon as you start justifying and like convincing someone based on whatever you assume their objection is, you're going to lose the sale. So there's a really powerful way to overcome this without it being like pushy or aggressive or salesy or anything. Because ideally you're going to uncover what the objections are during the question period. Like have you ever implemented that? And they might say, no, I hadn't. I've heard about it, but I didn't because blah, 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 blah. And that because blah, 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 blah is the objection. And you can uncover and talk through that. Or like how I said, you definitely want to include at the end, like, is there anything missing that you wish was included? Does this seem realistic for you? Like, does this time commitment? Does this, runway for results? And if you haven't uncovered the objection at that point, then I have how you can overcome the objections after that. So this is going to be a very complete framework for you to win a lot more business. So I hope you'll join me at 10 a.m. tomorrow and message Anza anything you're experiencing. And then, of course, really want to know your insights. Like if you're, having light bulb moments, or if you're implementing this and getting results, that would just make me thrilled. It has for all of my clients. So I hope you get a chance to, try it out. All right, you guys, I hope you have an incredible Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.